Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Queue, and in this video I'm going to discuss the November Trials missions. I'll offer an opinion on the HS-129A and the LaGG-3 Series 34, then I'll review the P-39N-1 Airacobra in full. A few days ago the World of Warplanes team introduced the November Trials event, in which if you play the game a fair amount, you'll be able to earn yourself 3 premium aircraft for free, turning them into reward aircraft. And the aircraft concerned, as you can see here, are the German ground attacking Henschel HS-129A, the Russian multirole, the LaGG-3 Series 34, and the American fighter, the Bell P-39N-1 Airacobra. And this will run until December the 19th, so you've still got plenty of time to complete these missions. What do you have to do? Well, for the ground attacking Henschel HS-129A, you'll have to earn 20,000 capture points for destroying ground targets. Note that this is restricted to Tier 5 to Tier 10 aircraft, so this mission is not really being aimed at new players of the game. That's quite interesting. If you achieve that, you'll get the aircraft. If you have it already, you'll get compensation of 1,150 gold, a hangar slot, and a trained pilot with a free skill point. Well, if you're using this as a crew trainer, perhaps that's not going to be of much interest to you. For the LaGG-3 Series 34, you'll have to capture 350 sectors in any number of battles, again restricted to Tier 5 aircraft and above. If you achieve that, you'll get the plane, or compensation for 1,750 gold if you have it already, the hangar slot, the pilot, and the skill point again. For the Bell P-39N-1 Airacobra, you'll need to destroy 700 enemy aircraft, and note that's enemy aircraft, not aerial targets. It means that air defence aircraft will not count towards your total. Again restricted to Tier 5 to Tier 10 aircraft, and if you achieve that you'll get the plane, or if you have it already, 3,600 gold compensation, the hangar slot, and the pilot with the free skill point. So what we're going to do next, we're going to talk about these aircraft in more detail, and by that I mean that I will talk about the first two of the aircraft, but I'm going to do a full-blown review of the Bell P-39N-1 Airacobra, and that will become the first aircraft that I have reviewed twice. There'll be a link to the earlier video where it's paired with the Russian aircraft of a very similar type below. Right, how might you best achieve these missions? Well, if you want to do them all concurrently, and they do run concurrently, then you'll need to have something with ground attacking capability and ability to take out enemy aircraft as well. And in doing that, you'll also capture sectors. So you're really talking about heavies with good ordnance, your favourite multi-roles, or dare I suggest it, fly around as a gunship in a B-29C Super Fortress or even a B-32. I can't believe I just said that. Let's move on. So we're looking at the HS-129A, the Tier 4 ground attacker that you can get in the November trials. I can't say I think this is a good looking aircraft. Let's just quickly bring the UI up, and what we'll do is we'll compare it to the other Tier 4 ground attackers. Starting with the Focke-Wulf 189C, we can see that the gun armament is better on the latter aircraft, so the bombs and rockets just a little bit. More fragile aircraft, so survivability figure is down, the airspeed is less, but then none of these ground attackers are fast. Manoeuvrability is quite a bit higher on the Focke-Wulf, we'll come back to that, and the altitude performance is insignificantly better. We'll jump over the premium L Bisha just for the moment and go to the Tech Tree Russian, the Bisha 2. Gun armament and bombs and rockets are better, survivability is the same, speed is a little bit higher on the Bisha. That's actually a bit of a surprise. That may be a function of the way I've set up the aircraft. These aren't stock comparisons like my spreadsheets. And manoeuvrability is the same, not manoeuvrable at all in other words, and the altitude performance is the same. Coming to the premium L Bisha, gun armament is worse, but bombs and rockets are better. Survivability is quite a bit worse. This is a particularly fragile ground attacker. Airspeed is quite a bit better though, and so is the manoeuvrability. Altitude performance pretty much the same, just a little bit better. So where does that place the HS-129 in ground attacking? Well, the answer is it's not great. You have 4 50-kilogram bombs, and that's only enough for 2 gun emplacements, or perhaps you could drop them all on a special object. But then you'll frequently find that the guns just aren't really good enough to knock down armoured targets particularly quickly. And the reload on those bombs is 90 seconds, and there's nothing you can do to improve this. So, as a ground attacker goes, it leaves a lot to be desired. And frankly, I'd much rather fly the Focke-Wulf 189C, because the greater manoeuvrability means that you have at least got some chance of being able to manoeuvre and shoot down enemy aircraft, although that's what I'm doing here fairly successfully before I go in and attack the special object. And you've also got the advantage of a rear gunner, which this doesn't have. So if a fighter or a multirole gets on your tail, pretty much you're going to get shot down. It's a very limited aircraft. Of the 3 available in the November trials, this is the one that I think is the least desirable. And if you have to pick aircraft to go for, this is the one that I would put at the bottom of the pile. It's just not that good, it's not that exciting, and I haven't enjoyed reacquainting myself with it. If you really love your ground attacking, then it's coming free, and maybe you will get more out of it than I do. Now we're looking at the LaGG-3 Series 34, which I think is quite handsome. And we're going to compare it to the Russian multiroles at Tier 5. So let's do the Yak-7 straight away. And that's going to have better gun armament. It has better bombs and rockets. Well, the LaGG-3 Series 34 doesn't have any ground attacking capability. No bombs or rockets. It's purely a sniper. Survivability the same, and possibly reflecting the presence of the ordnance, both the airspeed and the manoeuvrability on the Yak-7 are slightly worse. Altitude performance, the same. The Yak-7 M82 is the other premium Soviet multirole at Tier 5, and I have to say I much prefer this to either of the other 2 aircraft, but it's not a sniper. Its main armament is a pair of 20mm cannons, but these are used conventionally and not for long-range sniping. Nonetheless, the gun armament is rated as slightly higher. Bombs and rockets, again, much better than the LaGG-3 Series 34, because, just around homing the point, you haven't got any. Survivability is the same, airspeed the same, manoeuvrability though quite a bit higher, and altitude performance the same. Let's have a quick look at the LaGG-3 Series 34 in flight, and I'll discuss its capabilities. So essentially what we have in the LaGG-3 Series 34 is a pared down Yak-7. That is a Yak-7 without any ground attacking capability, no rockets, and worse secondary armament. What you do have is a single 37mm cannon. It's actually slightly better in some ways than that of the Yak-7. It has slightly greater range, 3,115 feet. That of the Yak-7 is about 2,953 feet. But frankly, you're not going to notice the difference. Often what you'll find is that in an engagement, you will do serious damage to an oncoming aircraft with your 37mm cannon, and then you have to get into a dogfight and finish it off with your secondary armament. Well, the Yak has 2 12.7mm cannons. Machine guns. The LaGG-3 Series 34 has just a single 12.7mm machine gun, and oh boy is it a pain trying to finish aircraft off with this. So the moral of this story is, why would you fly this aircraft rather than the Tech Tree Yak-7? And I'm not sure I can answer that question. Nonetheless, you do get the occasional moments of mirth and hilarity when you hit an opponent at extreme range with the 37mm cannon. And for that reason alone, it's worth flying occasionally, and if you're going to use it as a crew trainer, I suppose it's pretty ideal for the Yak multirole line. The last aircraft available in the November trials is the P-39N-1 Airacobra, and this is a handsome fellow, isn't it? Now, I'm going to do a full review of this aircraft, so what is coming next is my customary spreadsheet, with in this case all the statistics for the Tier 6 fighters. If you don't want to look at that, use the links below to skip ahead to another section. Here's the spreadsheet containing the information for all 16 Tier 6 fighters. Yeah, 16 of them. There they go, scrolling off the end there. And I'm going to explain how the spreadsheet works. If you already know that, use the link below to skip ahead to where I start discussing the statistics proper. So the P-39N-1 Airacobra occupies columns C and D, and each of the other 15 fighters have their own 2 columns. And they go off to the right, as you can see. Down the left, the main characteristics of the aircraft, the ones that you can see in the hangar UI, are shown. And then in the spreadsheet table, we have the statistics for each aircraft. Where you see green, it's best in class, light blue, second best in class, light purple, third best in class. A gold colour behind the name of the aircraft indicates it's a premium or a reward aircraft, and therefore if there is no colour, it's a tech tree aircraft. Configuration is stock in every case, equipment has been demounted, pilot sent back to the barracks, and the modules are all top. And I reverse the best in class logic here with red colours for worst in class and so on. Okay, let's discuss the aircraft. Since I last reviewed this aircraft in September, I've added extra information to the gun armament. For each gun you can now see the auto aim angle, the dispersion angle and the overheat time. All useful information. Dispersion angle is a measure of accuracy. Overheat time we all want to know. Are we going to overheat our guns rapidly, or do we have a nice good long burst length and good burst damage? And on the face of it, the American Airacobra is in a very good place here. It's rated with the best in class gun armament, although note that the cumulative DPS is only second best in class. The laurels here go to the Mustang 1A over here with its 4 20mm Hispano cannons. But it's a good mix of weaponry, the highlight of which is the 37mm hub-mounted cannon, but bear in mind this is not a Soviet type sniping 37mm. The range is only 1706 feet. Also, the dispersion angle is a little high at 0.6, and that's implying that you're going to be using a gun sight. Well, that's a fairly obvious choice, but if you can get marksman 1 and 2 skills on your pilot as well, that will really help. For closer quarters combat, you have a pair of 12.7mm machine guns, and then most usefully you've got 4 7.62mm machine guns, respectively 1706 range and 1444 feet. And these guns do make a difference, and it's what sets it apart from the Russian Lend-Lease Airacobra, which is right next to it, which lacks those guns and can struggle a little bit to finish off aircraft in a close quarters fight, because if you're missing with the 37mm cannon, you've only got a pair of machine guns to try and knock the opponent down with. Nevertheless, our American Airacobra packs a mighty punch. Survivability, neither good nor bad. The figures are all compressed for most of these aircraft anyway, they're all fairly similar, but it's good to see that we've got damage resistance and fire resistance at the top end of the scale for fighters. That said, with 250 hit points, if you sit in front of a heavy fighter, or worse, if you think with your armament you can go head to head with it, don't. Airspeed, commensurate with the turn fighters in this comparison. 6 seconds of boost is actually worst in class, but then the figures are compressed anyway, between 6 and 8. I'm not sure if there's a 10 somewhere, probably on the high energy fighters. We'll find out in a moment. When you start getting to the high energy fighters, you can see that the speeds increase quite dramatically. BF-109F has got rating 48. Here's the standout, the P-39N-1 which does have the 10 seconds boost, as indeed do the 2 Mustangs, which are on a similar airframe. Come to manoeuvrability, the figures are good, but you need to watch it. At base, you're worse than the 3 Spitfires at tier 6, you're a lot worse than the A6M50, and warning, if you encounter a specialised one of these, you should assume it has Akira Akani as the pilot, in which case it will be a great deal more manoeuvrable than you are. KR-61 and Yak-1M are also much more manoeuvrable, as is the XP-55 Ascender, the other tier 6 American premium. Then we start getting into the aircraft, which with the LA-5 is a sort of intermediate aircraft between high energy fighting and turn fighting, but as you can see the manoeuvrability figures start going in your favour, and the high energy fighters don't tend to manoeuvre quite as well. So we'll talk about that in a moment. You need to actually adapt your approach depending on which opponent you're fighting with this manoeuvrability figure. Nevertheless, this is the characteristic which I think, apart from the gun armament, is best on the aircraft. If we come to altitude performance, we'll see that it's pretty much of a muchness with the turn fighters, with the standout exception of the Spitfire 5DB605, the captured Spitfire, the Messerschmitt, with a Daimler-Benz engine installed. Of course, if we go across, as you would expect to see, the high altitude fighters have generally got much better altitude performance. There is an exception there with the pair of Mustangs, which has actually got altitude performance on a par with the turn fighters. We just drop down into worst in class very quickly. Survivability figures, as I say, they're all compressed, so not to worry about these red figures here. Airspeed, you can see that the maximum boost speed is a little lackluster, so it's not particularly fast aircraft. On the manoeuvrability side, your minimum optimum speed is fairly high, as is indeed is your stall speed. So watch out, if you're fond of using air brake in your turns, this may not be an aircraft that suits you particularly well if you're heavy on that air brake, because you'll stall the plane out. We didn't talk about climb rate and dive speed, we'll just do that now. Dive speed is neither here nor there, it's okay, it's not spectacular. Climb rate, you might struggle with this. It is a bit better than some of the fighters. If you know your fighters, you might be able to boost away upwards from an A6M50 or a KI61. Sorry, not the KI. Yes, the KI61. Sorry, nearly misread those figures. But quite a lot of the other turn fighters will stay with you. Okay, so what does that mean for this aircraft? Well, with this armament, you're certainly capable of taking down bombers and heavies. Much more so than most of the other aircraft in this comparison, so that's a good start. And the same goes for GAAs. You're good at taking those down. A really good assassin. As for other aircraft, multi-roles, you're almost certainly going to be able to outturn them. So that's also good news. And then it comes down to, what do you do in a one-on-one fight with the fighter? Well, if it's a turn fighter, it depends. If it's not specialised, and yours is, and you've got good equipment and good pilot skills, there's a good chance you're going to be able to outturn most of the turn fighters, or at least be competitive with them. I'd keep a very wary eye on the Yak-1M and the A6M50. Probably against those, I would always use what I call slash and burn tactics. It's a component of high energy fighting. Actually, with this armament, you could almost argue against fighters this is a boomer zoomer, in which case you'd come in fast, preferably from above, devastate your opponent with your weaponry, and then boost away and not engage in a turn fight. As far as the high altitude fighters are concerned, if they come within your compass, you can easily outturn them, and that's what you should do. Okay, so let's see how I've set this aircraft up. Here we are, back on the tarmac outside my hangar. The first thing to note is that this aircraft is specialised, which means that all equipment and consumable slots are available to me. So let's go and have a look and see what I've done with them. Well, you won't be surprised with the armament that we've got on this plane that it benefits from having a gun sight. And I think the second best characteristic of the plane is its manoeuvrability. So I've gone for a lightweight airframe here and a lightweight power unit. And then just to get a little bit more speed, I've put a polished skin on. Consumables. My normal set for a fighter aircraft, single-seater, so a fire extinguisher, pneumatic control assist to help in tight spots in a turn fight, the emergency control system to repair damaged wing or tail, same reason really, engine cooling for an extra 10 seconds of boost, provided you've got some in the first place, universal ammunition of course, because I don't load gold. Now I've got a really good pilot in this aircraft. It's from my F-86A Sabre, the Tier 10. But if I were building this for fresh, then I would definitely pick Aerodynamics Expert first. I would probably pick the Aerobatics Expert second. Both of those increase manoeuvrability, of course, provided you've got equipment installed that will do it for the Aerodynamics Expert. And also the Aerodynamics Expert will affect the polished skin as well, and make the aircraft just a little bit faster. And in this case, the F-86 pilot I've built, I've improved the engine before I've improved the Marksman 1. If you were thinking of trying to configure a pilot, particularly for the P-39N-1, you probably would have gone for Marksman 2 first above Engine Guru 1. I'd also like to get the resilience skill, but I am using this as a crew trainer, so the pilot's not specifically built for this plane. Okay, so that's how I've set the plane up. I think we better go and see how it does in battle. The battle map is Plateau. It's the turning point variant with 5 sectors laid out roughly in the shape of 5 spots of a die. There are 2 command centres, 2 air bases with a central garrison. So the garrison is tactically important because it provides the easy access to all the other sectors, but of course strategically probably the most important sectors are the command centres because they release bomber flights to attack enemy sectors, and then the air bases, which, because they're not central, spawning is not quite as valuable as it would be if they were central, but nonetheless it's quite useful. Of course, you can also select new aircraft of the same tier if you're destroyed, or get your aircraft fully repaired. If we look at the order of battle, both sides have 3 tier 6s. I'm in my P-39N-1, of course. We have a B-17G, which isn't specialised, a specialised XP-55, and that's the turn monster in this game, I guess. And we also have a pair of tier 5s, another bomber, a Junkers 88A, and a Hurricane 2D, which kicks like a mule, but it can be quite limited, especially when it's down tiered. The enemy has a high altitude fighter, the Bf-109F. The guns are beginning to get a little bit average at tier 6, but still a decent fighter. An unspecialised XP-55. Might be able to take that on in my specialised P-39. It will depend on how it's flown. We have a specialised A-26B. Interesting matchup against the B-17G. This thing is fast, and it reloads very quickly. And then there are 2 tier 5s, an XP-44, and a Focke-Wulf 190A1, which is specialised. And roughly I'd say that probably we have the slight advantage in terms of the aircraft that are in the order of battle, but as ever it will depend on how the pilots fly them. So let's see how the battle goes. When I'm in a fighter, it depends on which side of the combat group I am as to which sector I go to. In this case, I'm on the left of the combat group, so I'm going to the airbase rather than the command centre. But both are good. Gain altitude, so I can probably be on a par with the air defence heavies when I get to the airbase, and with a bit of luck above the air defence fighters. The team seems to have split quite equally, which looks promising. Spot some fighters, and then the first heavy comes into view. It's not actually coming for me initially, but it actually changes direction, as you'll see in a moment. I put a quick shot into it, and then I turn my attention to the second heavy, which isn't coming for me. As you can see, I quickly chunked down its health with the excellent armament of this aircraft. Got that one. Now I look at this first original heavy, chunk that one away as well. Looking for an air defence fighter to kill. There's a convenient one on low health below me. Down he goes, and that's 3 air defence fighters in very quick order. Indeed, we have the airbase. And the enemy has already got its command centre, so although I ping it to try and get my bots to go there, I'm heading off towards the centre to try and capture that. Now, worryingly, the enemy have already got their command centre, as I've just mentioned, but also they're close to getting their airbase, and if you look, our command centre we haven't even started capturing it. What on earth's going on over there? Well, an enemy fighter seems to be making a good fist of stopping us from capturing it. That's a bit disturbing. And the first air defence fighter in the centre comes towards me. In fact, a pair come towards me. Shoot the one that's coming head on as opposed to an angle. That goes down quickly. Swing around to look for another aircraft to shoot. An air defence fighter pops up conveniently in front of me. It's on fire, but I make sure of it quickly. Don't want to risk the base being flipped whilst the aircraft's burning out. A heavy comes below me. I dispose of that. I've already got 6 air defence fighters in quick order here. Could be 7 in a moment if I get on the tail of this one. But no, that one actually gets away from me. Just a little too far. 1,700 feet on the weaponry. That's got to 2,000. Now it's coming back in, but I have to watch the aircraft that are coming in behind it. And I was going to go for what was the XP-44, and then I realised that the specialised aircraft, which was probably the Focke-Wulf, was behind him, coming straight at me, so I switched attention to that. Evade, fly past him, turn on his tail and destroy him. And that puts me in a good position to take on the ground attacker. As you can see, the 37mm does some considerable damage, although I think some of that was module damage rather than actual hit points there. Come back for a second pass. This time you can see the hit points disappearing out quite a bit quicker. Don't quite finish it off, and as I swing round for the third pass I notice that another aircraft is coming in. Looks like the XP-44. I avoid, I can easily outturn it if I'm right. He's swung round to get into a turn fight with me, which is a mistake. Seriously damaged and on fire. And I finish him off. But by now the ground attacker is beginning to pelt me with the rear gunner, so I need to get rid of him as quickly as possible. Takes a little longer than I expected, but down it goes. And with that my team captures this sector. And again, you can see how quickly I whittle down the health of the second ground attacker. Now, by pinging the command centre earlier, my bots did go there, and they've actually captured it, which is just as well, because it looks like we're going to lose our local command centre. It also looks as if we're going to lose an airbase. So this game, whilst it's 3 sectors to 1, isn't quite as well set up for us as at first it might appear. We'll soon be 3 sectors to 2 down, I anticipate. Now I've got to make a decision. Do I go and try and defend, or do I swing around to attack the enemy's airbase? I think I'm too late to defend, so I begin to make my way to the enemy airbase. And I'm right. Notice a heavy approaching from my right quarter. It turns out to be heavily damaged, but I don't want to take a shot from it, so I quickly knock it away. And the XP-55 of my team joins me. The XP-44 returns, goes after a bot multi-roll. He's an easy kill. Fortunately, the XP-55 and I don't collide. That would have been difficult if we'd both lost HP, because now we need to try and get this airbase and get 3 sectors to 2 up again. Now, we've got an aircraft in here already, and all I can see are air defence aircraft, so we've got a good opportunity here. I'll shoot one. Probably shouldn't have turned away from that multi-roll there. I got away with it. I destroy the air defence aircraft, go looking for another target. There's another one in front of me. That goes down. That's my 8th. Fortunately, what turned out to be the XP-44, the multi-roll that I spotted but ignored, had gone after another target, so I'm able to shoot him down. That might not have gone so well, but it did. We've got the airbase, and now I'm going to hang around and pick up repairs. Unfortunately, I will have to hang around until the base unlocks. During the capture, the maintenance shed was destroyed, and it won't become effective again until the base unlocks, which is in about 10 seconds from now. And the base unlocks, I begin to pick up my repairs, and now I'm going to head towards the local command centre and see if I can help retake that. So, a little bit unusual, just while we're making our way to the command centre, I've already shot down 15 aircraft, but 8 of them are air defence aircraft. Well, that's just the way the game has gone, and it helps, as you'll see towards the end, with a particular epic achievement. Here we are, approaching the command centre, keeping a careful eye on which of the air defence aircraft is nearest to me. One's flying away but is closer than the other 2. He then swings round to try and attack me. I can easily outturn him, and I think this is going to be my 9th air defence aircraft, and so it is. Now we need to sort out the other 2 as quickly as possible. Chasing the one that's chasing my heavy. Don't want the heavy to be killed here. And as it happens, my team capture the command centre. So I don't get that air defence aircraft, I just do damage to it. And although we're 4 sectors to 1 up, it's still not necessarily a winning position. A couple of the sectors are under a severe threat. It could easily swing back to 3-2. I spot a low-flying bomber, and I know it's the human in this particular bomber, so I'm going to go and attack it. Now, in some fighters, this is not an aircraft I would want to attack, but with the weaponry I've got on this, I feel confident. As it turns out, the bomber's on extremely low health anyway, and it's a very easy kill. And there was another reason for going for the bomber. I had my eye on getting him a Campbell's medal, and at the moment I just need to kill a fighter in order to probably get that. So, unsurprisingly, I chased down the BF-109F, which is at a convenient altitude for me, and boy does that disappear under my gun so quickly. It's a fairly fragile light fighter, the BF-109F, and it certainly doesn't like being attacked by an Airacobra. As you can see, it's now 3 sectors to 2 in our favour, but it looks like the command centre, the one local to the enemy, is going to revert to them. So again, Although we've got a healthy lead, the game isn't finished yet. Dive on the F4F. And that is the ace notification. So shooting down all of those air defence aircraft worked out well for me. And it also is the hero of the sky. Avoid the incoming enemy aircraft, swing around behind it. It hasn't swung to shoot me. It's the Focke-Wulf. It's tried to run away, but then makes the mistake of turning back towards me. Perhaps he didn't feel he could get away. Probably couldn't have. I would have probably used engine cooling to chase him down. And the Winged Legend goes through, interestingly, after the ace and also the Hero of the Sky badge. And now the team has managed to hold on to 3 sectors to 2 for so long that we've got a healthy lead and the game is probably won. I head towards the command centre, thinking about shooting down the ground attacker. As it turns out, the ground attacker is on extremely low health, so that was really a waste of time, but you couldn't know that beforehand. Head towards the centre. It's a long haul, the game's nearly over, and I don't think there's going to be anything more that I can do here. And there you go. Big haul of medals. 15,200 personal points. Could have been more, but I'm still pleased with that game. Let's review the outcome of this battle, and as we can see from the centre, it's a 5 chevron battle, or grade 1 fighter, grossing 151,138 credits, or silver if you prefer, of which just over 50,000 were due to the premium account bonus. Drop into the message box, we can see that there were no expenses, the aircraft wasn't shot down, therefore no repair costs, and I was using prepaid consumables. 3,123 experience with the bonuses you can see there, 156 free experience with the premium account bonus. 3 tokens, these were for first medals of the day, the Koshadub, the Marseille and the Ace. But if we look up here we can see there's the Marseille, there's the Ace, but also Nakamatsu, a Winged Legend, McCampbell's, that's the Koshadub, and also a Hero of the Sky. So 7 epic achievements there, not bad. We look at the personal score tab, we can see we just sneaked the 5 chevron battle here. 2 of the class specific missions are complete, and we've got 3 points for this one. Personal points of 15,200, with 4 sectors captured. I was busy. 21 aerial targets destroyed, that's 1 more than is needed for the ace. 4,937 damage to aerial targets with just 13 critical hits. Well, always a bit of a surprise that this cannon doesn't do more. 800 capture points, and that was split 600 for attacking and 200 for defending. On the team score tab we can see easily enough for first place both by personal points and chevrons. Pretty decent contribution from our Junkers 88A, a tier 5 bomber, and some decent contributions here from the A26 and the BF-109F, but I'm glad this battle went our way. And now we're approaching the end of my video on the November Trials missions. The German tier 4 ground attacker, the HS-129A, I regard as mediocre. The Russian tier 5 multirole, the LaGG-3 Series 34, is not without interest, but I'd much rather fly the Tech-Tree Yak-7. But this aircraft, which we're looking at now, the P-39N-1 Airacobra, I think if you know how to fly it and you build it well, you have a good pilot, it's a bit of a monster. Well, I hope you found that useful, and if you did, that you'll come back and see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q signing out.